14 days into the blackout. Your daughter sliced her calf open on rusted rebar 3 days ago, scavenging a flooded basement for canned goods. Now the red streak is crawling up her thigh like it's got a train to catch. The fever's 103. The pharmacy got picked clean in the first 48 hours. The clinic burned on night 9. You're staring at the bottle of expired ibuprofen in your hand, and the part of your brain that still speaks in complete sentences is whispering the same thing over and over. Every single piece of medicine you know how to use came from a building that doesn't exist anymore. Your great-great-grandmother would have saved that leg before breakfast. She wouldn't have blinked. She'd walk to the beehive, crack it open, and heal her kid with something that still works after 3,000 years in an Egyptian tomb. Here's the part they never taught you in history class. Medieval people get painted as filthy, superstitious idiots who died at 35 from splinters. Wrong. If a medieval peasant survived childhood, they lived to 64 on average. They weren't stupid. They had a problem you are about to have, no hospitals, no factories, no antibiotic aisle, and they solved it with things you're probably walking past every single day. So let's crack open the old playbook, the one that got paved over by the pharmaceutical aisle, and pull out the tools your ancestors used when there was no 911 to call. Stay with me, because the last one on this list, that one didn't just survive the Middle Ages. It saved 1 million soldiers in World War I, and it was growing in a swamp. First up, the golden antibiotic. Honey. And not the bear-shaped corn syrup sitting in your cupboard. Real, raw, unfiltered honey, the darker the better. Honey is the single weirdest substance in medicine. It does not rot. Archaeologists found pots of it sealed in Egyptian tombs 3,000 years old, still edible. Medieval battle surgeons packed it into sword wounds. The Soviets ran out of penicillin in 1943 and went straight back to the hive. And in 2007, the FDA finally cleared medical-grade honey for treating chronic wounds that modern antibiotics had given up on. Let that sink in. Your grandmother's cupboard predates the FDA. Here's the science nobody tells you. Honey does 3 brutal things to bacteria at once. It sucks the water right out of them because it's mostly sugar. Microbes dehydrate and die. It runs a pH around 3.9, which is too acidic for most infections to survive, and as it sits, it slowly releases hydrogen peroxide. 3 weapons, 1 sticky jar. Slather it on a clean wound, cover with clean cloth, change every 12 hours. I've used it on a burn I got on a wood stove 3 winters ago, and it healed clean with no scar. That's not folklore. That's just what happens when you let nature do what it's been doing since bees existed. Next, the swamp bandage, Sphagnum moss. This is the one that won the trenches. 1915. British and German medics ran out of cotton gauze at the same time, and somebody's grandmother remembered. They started harvesting sphagnum moss by the ton. Literal ton. Over 1 million dressings a month by 1918. Here's why. Sphagnum holds 20 times its weight in liquid. Cotton holds 5, and the bogs it grows in are naturally antiseptic. So, antiseptic, they preserve human bodies for 4,000 years. Bog bodies. Go look them up. Skin intact. Hair intact. Last meal still in the stomach. If sphagnum can preserve an Iron Age celt, it can absorb pus out of your kid's leg without blinking. You find it in boggy, wet ground. Green, spongy. Looks like a wet sponge with opinions. Rinse it, squeeze the water out, pack it into a cloth like a pillow, and bandage over the wound. Change every day. Don't overthink it. The plant is already doing the work. Third, the bark aspirin. Willow. Hippocrates wrote about it 2,400 years ago. Medieval monks chewed it for fevers, headaches, and childbirth pain. In 1897, a Bayer chemist isolated the active compound, salicin, and slapped a trademark on it. They did not invent aspirin. They copyrighted it. Stripped the inner bark of a white willow or black willow, the soft green layer right under the outer skin. Boil a heaping tablespoon in 2 cups of water for 10 minutes. Sip it slow. It tastes like punishment. It drops a fever and kills a headache in 20 minutes. But here's the catch that nobody puts on a wellness blog. Do not give it to kids under 16 because of the same Ray's syndrome risk that aspirin carries. And don't mix it with blood thinners. This isn't herbal tea. This is real medicine with real rules. Quick pause. If you've gotten this far, you are already smarter than 95% of people who will click off this video and remember nothing. Do yourself a favor and hit the subscribe button right now. The day you need this information is not going to come with a calendar invite, and the algorithm will bury channels like this one the second somebody decides self-reliance is inconvenient. Future you will thank present you. Moving on. Fourth, the plague cocktail, 4 thieves vinegar, France, 14th century. The Black Death is hollowing out Europe. Story goes, 4 grave robbers were looting plague corpses and somehow not catching the plague. When they finally got arrested, the judge cut them a deal. Tell us how, and we don't hang you. They talked. Crushed garlic, rosemary, sage, thyme, lavender, wormwood, soaked in apple cider vinegar for weeks. Is the folk story embellished? Probably. But the recipe? It works. Researchers at Washington State University found that garlic compounds were up to 100 times more effective against certain bacteria than 2 common antibiotics. Vinegar kills most surface pathogens on contact. Mix a jar, let it sit for a month, strain it. You now have a surface cleaner, a wound wash, a throat gargle, and a shelf-stable flu season insurance policy that lives for years without refrigeration. Fifth, the everything grease, tallow, rendered beef or lamb fat. Your ancestors did not waste 1 gram of an animal, and tallow is the reason. It was food, candle fuel, soap base, leather conditioner, skin cream, waterproofing for boots, and machine lubricant. 1 substance, 9 jobs. Your modern consumer economy sells you 9 different bottles in 9 different aisles. The medieval economy answered all 9 with a bucket of fat. You render it by simmering fat scraps low and slow for a few hours, straining out the solids and letting it set. It keeps for over a year at room temperature without going rancid. You can rub it on cracked winter hands, cook your eggs in it, mold it into a candle with a cotton wick, or waterproof your work boots. Remember when I said the honey did 3 jobs at once? Tallow is the same principle taken to its logical extreme. This is how you survived when your pantry was also your pharmacy was also your toolbox. And the last one, the one I promised. The bacteria prison. Because here's the uncomfortable truth about refrigeration. It is 150 years old. The human race is 200,000. So how on earth did anyone eat meat in February before 1870? 3 weapons: salt, smoke, ferment. Salt drags moisture out of meat until bacteria have nothing to drink, so they starve in a dry desert of their own corpses. Smoke from hardwood deposits phenols and natural formaldehyde compounds onto the surface. Yes, the same chemical family used in embalming, produced for free by a fire. Fermentation is the sneakiest one. You flood the food with the good bacteria, like the lactobacillus, in sauerkraut and pickles, and they eat all the sugar before the bad bacteria can even find the address. Roman sailors ate sauerkraut on voyages 2,000 years ago. Captain James Cook fed it to his crew to prevent scurvy. It preserves itself and prevents disease and costs the price of a cabbage and a spoon of salt. Have you ever actually used any of this yourself? Grandmother who swore by honey on a burn? Uncle who cured his own meat in the garage? A tea your family passed down that nobody can quite remember the recipe for? Drop it in the comments. Somebody down there needs to hear it from a real person, not a wellness influencer selling it back to them in a $10 jar. Now here's the deeper thing, the part that makes the whole playbook click. Every one of these tricks is doing multiple jobs at once. Honey heals and feeds and stores forever. Tallow cooks and softens and burns, moss absorbs and disinfects, and grows for free in a bog. Your modern pharmacy shelf doesn't work like that. Advil kills pain, it doesn't heal. Bleach kills germs, it poisons you. The old toolkit is holistic because it had to be. When you only own 6 things, every single one of those 6 things has to do 6 jobs. And here's the part they would rather you didn't notice. Modern medicine didn't replace this knowledge because it was better. It replaced it because it was patentable. You cannot trademark honey from your neighbor's hive. You cannot put a corporate logo on moss from a swamp. The old ways didn't fail us. They failed the people who needed us to forget them. So they got quietly shelved, labeled quaint, and buried under a shelf of $20 pills. Back to your daughter. Day 4. Last night you packed honey into the wound, wrapped it in sphagnum, you rinsed and pressed dry, and gave her willow tea for the fever. This morning, the red streak is shrinking. She is eating stale crackers and arguing with her brother about the last granola bar. She is going to live, not because a hospital saved her, because 800 years of people who did not have hospitals figured it out first, and you were the one who remembered that's what a survivor actually is, not somebody with a bunker and a shopping list. Somebody who remembers what was already here. If you want the next one, where I break down the forgotten food preservation tricks that keep meat edible for 2 years without a freezer, hit subscribe now so you don't miss it. Sadist, because next time the lights go out, the difference between a bad week and a buried kid is going to be whether you saw the video in time. See you in the next one.